In this week's video in the K2 Plus saga, we are going to talk about all the good, the bad, and the ugly. This 3D printer has been nothing but trouble for me. However, there are some goods. I'm going to insert some clips here of showing you what the inside of this printer looks like and just proving once again that it's probably one of the nicest built, best engineered 3D printers I've ever seen, and I've seen pretty much all of them. The problem with this 3D printer is not the build quality. The printer is chef's kiss perfect. Here is where the problem lies. The firmware is bad, the slicer is bad, and I keep saying it over and over again, but nothing is changing. Creality is not listening to me. They are changing nothing. We are printing a ABS print, okay? And this print is the best one I've gotten so far, and I just want to show you this is all the stuff that I've been taking off. Look at the quality of this first layer. Absolutely horrendous, total garbage. I've tried it with calibration. I've tried it without calibration. No matter what I do, nothing seems to fix the issue. Another issue that has popped up is that it basically goes into thermal shutdown, and that is when the enclosure temperature while printing ABS, because it's in the slicer that it manages the thermal temperatures, if it cannot maintain the internal temperature of the printer, it goes into a full thermal shutdown and shuts off completely. Went from printing this to been canceled. Printing has been canceled. Chamber heating issue. Please ensure printer is sealed. Whatever the fuck that means. But it's shut down. This ain't good. Why does it do that? I have no idea. Anyways, the third issue. So we got bed leveling. We got a false positive thermal shutdown for enclosure temperature, which is totally crazy. And then we have the third problem. The third problem is while you have a bad first layer, it's basically trying to make the part, right, do the layer. And what ends up happening is you start backing the extruder up. When you back the extruder up, it puts excess pressure onto the motor. When the motor has excess pressure, because these are closed loop stepper motors, it can detect it in the firmware. The firmware will stop the print and say, hey, there's a problem with the extruder motor. It is, struggling or whatever the case may be, right? And it gives you an option. It says quit, retry, or okay. Okay. So I thought, okay, maybe there's a clog, a slight clog. So I turn the heat up. I basically take it all apart, clear the clog. There is no clog. Clear the clog, reload the filament again, start printing again. But guess what happens? The extruder motor quits working. It does not work. Once it throws that error, the extruder motor will not engage no matter what I do. I've tried okay, I've tried retry, and I've tried quit. Same is true if I try to load or unload filament. The motor just goes limp, dead, and just does not work at all. The only way to get around this problem is to shut the printer off and restart from a new boot up, basically. That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. The quality of this print, I don't care if it's ABS or not. This is not okay for a $1,299 printer. This is bullshit, okay? All of this filament down here is bullshit. Now, I have gotten some good prints off of here, but it seems so hit or miss. I'm not exactly sure what's happening. And just like with the K1, the more I do high temp filaments, the worse this whole problem seems to get. And I have a theory, because this is what happened on the K1. When I started doing nylons or ABSs or ASAs or whatever the case may be, and started getting hot, like a higher internal temperature inside the enclosure, I started having extruder problems, which led me to having to replace the extruder. I'm guessing with a full plastic extruder, because that's what's in here, full plastic extruder with metal gears, right? That this extruder is slowly warping and getting worse as time goes on, because this problem is just getting worse and worse. Now, I promised you guys some good in this week's video, and I'm going to deliver on that. I did a full long video of ripping the back off this printer, and I gotta tell you, there are some of the most innovative things I've seen in a 3D printer in a really long time. The active belt tensioning system is absolutely insane. I love it. I've never seen anything quite like it. It's really good. All the wires are routed beautifully. They have a auto switching PSU, which I've never seen on a Creality printer before. It has two internal heaters. So these little heaters back here at the back, There are two in the middle right there. There is one for 220 volt and there's one for 110, 115 volts. And the reason they did that is to make this printer work for no matter where it's at, Europe or North America. This printer can work on both. So whether you're on 220 or you're on 110, the heater for the enclosure works for both of you. And I even documented on the back of it where you can actually see the wires for the 220 circuit runs off to the right and the 110 runs off to the left. And it has some kind of breakout board in here that decides, depending on the input voltage, what it does. So kind of cool, right? Like there's some really cool things here. This printer is absolutely insanely good. It's the firmware. It's maybe some of the hardware or the electronics inside of it are failing. I don't know. But there's just some shortcuts that Creality seems to always making this $1,299 printer, for me anyways, a total disappointment at this point, and it's still a no-go for me. So let's get into the teardown of the back of it, and let's see what happens. By the way, these are the boxes that I'm printing. These did come off the K2, and they were successful. The bottom layers are kind of okay. It's hard to tell on a texture plate, but I mean, it's not great. You can see where the layers started stacking up down here and not good, but it did finish the parts. They do work and they look okay. I would say 7 out of 10. I was wondering what this was, and I just figured it out. It's a screw boss that goes right here that broke off, basically. These are little motor driver boards. Look at that. And these are running motors that are adjusting the belts in real time. Amazing. That is insane. This is what I've been saying all along. Creality built probably one of the craziest, probably the best 3D printer I've seen to date. It's just the slicer and the firmware, of course, that lets it down. These are little motor driver boards that drive these motors. These are like actuators, and they basically push in and pull out to tighten the belts. Unbelievable. PSU, so this is cool. You don't have to switch the power. And then this is the breakout board for the CFS. And I just want you to take a gander here. Look at this board. This board is wild. There are so many things hooked up to this. This is why the printer is kind of slow, is because this board is doing all the work, and it's a lot, right? This is a lot for any board to process. I think these are closed loop stepper motors also. So you got closed loop stepper motors, you got the belt tensioning motors, you got heating, cooling. You know, these are just exhaust fans. These are no big deal. I mean, you can get these probably anywhere. This is interesting. I wonder how they deal with the dual, you know, with the 110 versus 220 issues. I'm gonna run a thermal camera on this, I think, to see. But this looks like two different heaters together. If you look at it, there's look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Can you see that? So there's a 220 side. I think I saw this in another review that it was broken in half, which is pretty interesting solution, because the PSU is, you know, universal essentially. So basically one half of this heater is 110 and the other half of the heater is for 220, and it must know to switch. This is like a breakout board here. Pretty dang cool. I did not know. I never seen this in a video. I've never seen anybody talk about this, but pretty darn cool. I mean, they threw everything in the kitchen sink at this printer. The heater, the dual fans, single PSU running it all. It must have a mains bed in it, so that's pretty cool. And then that board is just doing so much. So let's run a calibration really quick and see if we can see it adjusting these belts. This is one of my complaints about this printer, is that it just takes forever to load. All right, come on, baby. Belt. I guess we might as well do them all. I mean, these are pretty clever. These could be a failure point too, though. These could be bad. These all seem kind of loose, to be honest. Hopefully we caught something on camera. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, if the belts are not out of tension, it's not going to do anything. But I can tell by looking at this that this is a rotational thing. So there's a motor here and probably a gearbox that turns this, that pushes this in or out. Pretty clever little design by Creality. Again, something totally new. And also, this is my first printer ever with an active heater in it. And I think the way that they split this 220-110 is pretty smart. This whole thing is pretty smart. I mean, even the, look at this, the little cooling fan for the, I can't really see inside of it. Actually, I take that back. This is a solid state relay right here. This is an SSR, it looks like. Just looking through it, it's probably where the power resume is, and a few other things are in there. You can see the wires running right here from the PSU to it. Pretty dang cool. The only thing that sucks is the screen, and that this seems a little like it's struggling for power a little bit, but it does print. It's if you can get over the slicer or the screen and the firmware. But this made me even more impressed with this machine than I was before. It just looks like it's really well put together, really well thought out. It looks like they threw everything in the kitchen sink at this. So if there's something in here you want me to film closer, take apart more, please let me know in the comments below. I'd be happy to do that. But let's throw the back on this and see if we can do it without breaking any of these little bosses again. So I also realized that you need to be leery of these. These are, I don't know if you remember my last video, I talked about getting a photo, it's called a photo sensor error or something like that. Well, that's this, and there's a corresponding pin up here that goes down into here to let it know where it's at. And apparently this is some part of the power resume functionality, because this bed is great, right? They did a really nice job designing this bed. This bed is so smooth, right, that when the power shuts off, the bed drops like a rock to the bottom. I've never seen a Core XY do that before. Not that easily anyways. And I think it's just a testament to how square the bed is in the frame. There's like literally no resistance on this bed assembly, which is good. So what happens in a power recovery is this drops down and these pins go into here, and somehow it decides where it was last at. And then it uses this to home it at the bottom, and then it puts itself right back to where it was. Maybe we should test that. I haven't tested it yet, but definitely a interesting solution for when your bed falls when the power goes out. So pretty cool. Again, another really cool innovation from Creality that I'm super impressed by. I mean, this machine is super impressive. I've said it from the get-go. This is probably one of the most impressive printers I've ever seen. See, right now it's going down. It's going to actually go into those holes. See? Boom, boom. It's making love to it. And now it knows exactly where it needs to be. So now it can go back up. Pretty cool idea. So we're gonna let it sit here and finish doing its calibration, and then we're gonna load it with filament and start a print and see how that goes. So right now, that calibration is calibrating between the two Z-axis. So it's measuring if there's any tilt, and then it does the middle. So right now it's adjusting those two motors to decide, you know, if it's level and if it's level to the tool head. And now it's gonna do it backwards and forwards, right? So it does it front and back and then backwards and forwards. or left and right, and then front to back. So X, Y, and then Z. So anyways, I just wanted to give you guys a look under the hood and show you what to expect if you ever take your K2 apart. But and honestly, it made me like this machine even more. I'm genuinely impressed with what I saw under there. The wiring looks very good. The quality all looks very good. It's nice and neat and tidy, and you can just tell that Creality has put a lot of love and a lot of forethought into this printer. That is for sure. This frame alone is really impressive. It's super heavy, and I think that lends to it being a great printer. But what I saw under the hood back there is pretty impressive. So if you like it too, leave a comment down below. Let me know if you're thinking about buying one of these printers. Again, I would wait for the price to come down. I think it's a great printer. And if you have a Mac, I would definitely say do not buy this printer if you have a Mac computer, because it's not just me. Go watch Uncle Jesse's channel, right? There's other people that are having the same problems. They're very frustrated with how the slicer works with Macintosh. So anyways, thanks for watching, everybody. Like, share, and follow, and let me know what you'd like to see next, and I'll see you guys on the next one.